So again, I want to just say thank you and hello to everyone for being here today. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that this particular meeting will be recorded. Um, and we just started that. I think the announcement just came on. So good afternoon, task force members. And before we proceed, I'd like to invite our interpreters to share instructions on how the members of the public can access interpretation services for today's meeting. Uh, and then for all task force members and participants who prefer English, please click the globe icon on the bottom of your screen to join the English channel in case we have somebody from another language speak during public participation. We will begin with Spanish interpreter.
Hola, mi nombre es Fiordalisa Ventura. Voy a ser la intérprete de español. Va a ver en la interpretación, hará un globito en la pantalla, lo prestan y elijan español. Entonces yo voy a estar dando todo lo que se dice en esta reunión, yo lo voy a estar diciendo en español.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Portuguese.
Oi, eu sou a Isabelle, eu vou estar fazendo a interpretação em português. Se você quiser usar a interpretação em português, vai ter um globo abaixo e você clica e seleciona a língua portuguesa.
Thank you. Haitian Creole.
Bonsoir, moi les Magdalene. Si nous t'avons écouté réunion ça en créole haïtien, gen yon écran, gen yon globe par en bas écran nous, n'a sélecté créole haïtien pour nous capable écouter en créole. N'a pas dans chambre. Merci.
Awesome. Mandarin. Mandarin. I think you're in the English channel.
We have not opened interpretation channels, but Sandy, if you're on the line, if you could unmute and introduce yourself.
大家好，我是的广东话翻译。你们按这个屏幕下方有一个环球的标记，可以按到这个 Chinese， 也就是中文的一个翻译的。
Thank you. Cantonese.
Okay. He's not also.
喂，你好啊，我咁樣嘅 Daniel 啊，我姓黃嘅，我係廣東話傳譯員，同佢做翻譯嘅。如果大家想聽廣東話嘅傳譯嘅話，咁你可以撳廣東話 Cantonese 嘅頻道咧，咁你可以聽到我嘅即時傳譯。唔該晒大家。
Awesome. Well, thank you to our interpreters for supporting today's meeting and for those who will be participating in the discussion today. So please be mindful when you're speaking at a slow pace, just to ensure that we can accommodate our interpreters. And welcome to the public and to the task force members. For those that haven't been able to meet, my name is Jonathan Guzman. I'm the Director of EJ and Equity here at the Office of Environmental Justice and Equity. And I'm here with my colleague who is helping strongly today with tech, Monica Roy, who's the Senior Director of Environmental Justice from the Department of Conservation and Recreation. We are co-chairs of this task force, and we get to work with MAPC, the Metropolitan Area Planning Council, who is also supporting us through this work. We're gonna go ahead with the rest of the meeting. I think, Monica, you're gonna turn on the globe. Is it already on?
Yes, it is on. Interpretation channels are open now.
Okay, awesome. So let me move on to the agenda for today. So thank you to everyone that reviewed the draft agenda and provided input. We have one agenda item on discussing of the recordings of the meeting, and then we can move into the overview and discussing the sidewalk and public hearings that are coming up. We can also continue the discussion of the draft recommendations that the task force may want to include in the report. But before we go ahead we want to go ahead and do roll call. So if you are present and you're a council, a task board member, please come off mute and clearly state that you're present today in order to record your attendance. Starting with myself, Jonathan, I'm present. Next is Monica.
Present.
Thank you. Logan.
Present.
Logan is present. Derek.
Present.
Derek is present. Kyle.
Present.
Kyle is present. Ken. Ken. But I saw Ken. Okay. Ken is absent. Jeremy. Jeremy is absent. Galen. Galen is absent. Laura.
Present.
Laura is present. Angela.
Present.
Angela is present. Fran. Fran is absent. Lawrence.
Present.
Lawrence is present. Sheila.
Present.
Sheila is present. Steve.
Present.
Steve is present. Denise.
Present.
Denise is present. Thomas. Thomas is absent.
Present.
Thomas is present. And last but not least, David.
I am here. Present.
Present. Thank you. So we should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we have enough. We have reached quorum, and we can proceed with today's meeting. We would like to put in the screen the norms again. We briefly just they were established by the task force to help us collectively shape the space and both the welcoming and productive. We will also put the link of the norms on the chat for people, for the public and for the task force members to take a look at. Okay. So for the Zoom chat, it will be open for the task force members during the meeting today. So private message will be disabled. We encourage members to use the raise hand feature when contributing for discussions. And then this is this is a public meeting, so please remember that all chat messages are part of the public record and will be included in the meeting minutes. To help keep things running smoothly, kindly keep your microphone muted unless you're actively addressing the working group. Our colleagues at MAPC will be monitoring the chat, and then our colleagues here at the EJ office and also at DCR will also support any comments or questions that appear in the chat in order to capture it. If you're not a task force member, we ask that you hold off on using the chat until public comment period starts, which is at the end of the meeting if time permits.
Your Honor,
Yeah, go Lawrence.
I may fade out only because I'm not at my usual location, so it goes on and either I'm talking or I fade or my battery falls off. That's why. Okay.
Okay, awesome. So we will check in case you leave Monica or Ines if for some reason Lawrence drops off. Just let me know. Thank you, Lawrence. So we're gonna go ahead and adopt our meeting minutes from October 6th. That was meeting 3. Did I just see a hand raise?
Yes,
Denise?
yes. I have issues with the minutes.
Okay, so let me open it up and then we can go ahead through the minutes for amendments, okay?
Sure.
So, thank you. So before we go into the particular minutes today, I want to make sure that I hear a motion to adopt the minutes. But if there's any amendments, and Denise, you mentioned that you have some, we can go ahead and accept those right now. Go ahead, Denise.
I thought you were gonna bring them up.
Yeah. Do you want them to share on the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Part 7 they're not by page. So it's item 7 where it says discuss preliminary recommendations for the task force. Yes. This part of the meeting, they weren't preliminary recommendations from the last meeting. We didn't even get to discuss that. I looked at the slide deck that was prepared from that meeting, and we didn't even get to that part of the slide. This part of the meeting was people's feedback when I raised the question of what is it that everybody else feels are their challenges or pain points for the river, and then people just started talking. But I think it's not fair to call it preliminary recommendations when it was just an open discussion.
Okay. I think one of the reasons why is because of the title, how I appear on the agenda. And I believe we added it to this agenda in order to continue the conversation today. But we
didn't get to it as part of the initial meeting. So to have that be a preliminary recommendation, that was very surprising to see that we have preliminary recommendations when we haven't even gotten to that part of the meeting.
I think and through the conversation, and Monica, if you want to share more about it, it was part of the agenda and we were able just to open it up. And as you mentioned, people provided some comments. And are you suggesting that the title itself should be changed?
Well, 1, yes. And 2, I just want to go back again to say that we didn't even get to that part of the agenda in the last meeting. We were discussing other things, and I raised the question to say, you were hearing from, and even Francis mentioned it, that we were speaking up. And I said, instead of it being the Riverside area folks, let's hear from everybody else. What were their pain points? And everyone started talking. That to me isn't recommendations. That was just a free flow. And please, can someone else that's not part of Riverside, am I losing it? Or is this what you're feeling as well? I didn't see that as recommendations.
Steven?
Yeah, I think Denise is correct, but I think we're caught in sort of a bureaucratic little twist here, which is that even though the title says discuss the preliminary recommendations, and I think that's the carryover from what you had put in the original agenda, but in fact, that's not what we talked about, but that was the place on the agenda where it would fit. So I think you just stuck the text in there. And it is a bit confusing. If it's possible to change the title next to number 7 for open discussion of pain points or something like that, that would probably be clearer.
Thank you. Yeah, up to the task force, I would say the reason why we stuck to this is because it was the only area that the task force had the opportunity to speak about or provide comments during that period of time, and we did add it to the agenda today.
But again, it's misleading, and even though it may fit that area, it's not clear.
I hear you, Monica.
Yes, hear the feedback, Denise, on this point, and it is misleading because the preliminary recommendations, the question that you brought up was more of the pre-conversation before even getting to the recommendations part. What I might suggest here is, because there's a section on the agenda that says additional questions for discussion, maybe that's the more appropriate title for this part of it. It was discussion amongst the task force members, but
So
not
can I just ask then, are you trying to fit in the discussion points where it falls within your agenda instead of just labeling it as an additional item?
So I can answer that, Monica. When we as a task force bring conversations forward, we need to figure out where exactly it fits within the agenda outline. And when we had those particular comments, right, we thought that that was the intentional, I guess, like the space to put that in. But I think what Monica is mentioning is like, can we put that, would you be okay on us putting that into like the comments and for discussions of the task force members? Because
Sure.
we
And
saw,
I think it would be appropriate to go there, and this is why we asked for this meeting, for the fact that things do get lost in translation, and it's not full transparency across the task force members. It was a decision that you guys made, but it wasn't agreed upon by the task force members. So that's why we asked for a meeting like this, so that we can come to consensus on how things are portrayed or communicated. So I'm fine with it if everybody else is where it can be put without that title.
okay, yeah, we can do that. And it's also part of this agenda, even though it was an agenda in the last meeting and we didn't really get to it, we pushed it to this one to ensure that we did have the time and the opportunity to hear further conversations of preliminary recommendations. But I hear you. I thank you, Denise, for raising that, and we will fix that. If there's no objection to that, we will work on that amendment for the agenda. I don't hear none. Is there any other changes that we need to do to the minutes, please? Kyle?
Just real quick, I voted to approve the September minutes in item 2. It was marked as no response, so I think that should be changed.
Is there any objection to changing that? Okay, seeing none, we can do that change as well. Any other friendly amendments?
That was the only thing that was very, that stood out to me.
Okay. Thank you. Can I, okay, so if we don't have any further amendments, can I just get a motion to approve these minutes with the friendly amendments? Moving this particular context into another line within the agenda of the discussion within the task force, discussion and questions from the task force, and also changing Kyle's to approve of the minutes.
So moved.
Awesome. That was done by Laura. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Sheila. Okay. There are no further discussion on the matter. I'm just gonna do a roll call real quick. Starting with Monica.
Approve.
Thank you. Logan.
Approve.
Thank you. I'm gonna run through it. I'm gonna run through every name in case somebody came in when I was doing roll call. Derek. Kyle.
Approve.
Approve from Derek.
Derek approve. Kyle approve.
Approve.
So Ken. Ken is absent. We're gonna go Jeremy. Absent. Galen. Absent. Laura.
Approve.
Approve. Angela.
Approve.
Angela approve. Fran. Absent. Lawrence.
Approve.
Lawrence approve. Sheila.
Approve.
Is approved. Steve?
Approved.
Steve approve. Denise?
Sure, approved.
Denise approved. Thomas?
Approve.
Thomas approved. David?
Approved.
David approve. And
Approved.
thank you. And I approve as well. Awesome. So the agenda is approved, and we will make sure to make those amendments and send it back out just to make sure that members are able to see those friendly amendments. Thank you, Denise, and thank you, Kyle. We're gonna go ahead with the rest of the agenda for today, and I will be passing it on to Monica, and that she brings us into the next parts of the agenda for today.
That sounds good. Thanks, Jonathan. And do you want to pull up? Okay, great. The slides again. So our next agenda item is to discuss the recording of task force meetings. This agenda item was brought forward by a member of the task force. And before opening it up for discussion, I will summarize that after the second task force meeting, a request came through to record task force meetings going forward. Jonathan and I heard that request, brought it forth to make sure that was okay with our legal teams. It was. And so we started recording meetings from the last meeting, meeting 3. This meeting is also being recorded. And we are intending to support the task force in this way going forward. And I'll stop there and open it up for further questions or discussions on this.
Yes, Monica,
Yes, go ahead, Lawrence.
thank you for adding this to the agenda. I just want to be clear about this, okay? My moving into this was to make sure that everybody, every participant's thoughts, expressions, emotions, whatever, were accurately accounted for. And short notes never give me the chance to reflect upon anything, particularly when it's not in full content. And I'm having difficulty anyways with content, but let's just stick to this. I'm really requesting that all that we do is recorded, all of it, digitally done. And if we can't, then we can't have a meeting, because we have that ability now. AI technology has provided that to us. And I can't see how this modern time and this agency can't do that in a concise manner all the time. And in the event that it can't, then we should know the particulars, why, and the task force should be the ones to say yay or nay. All right. And right now, that's exactly what I have been pursuing, because until today is the first time I felt that my request is being fulfilled. Because I still haven't seen it for me to independently get it on my own when I want. And I haven't seen the transcripts, which originally you said would be a few days, whatever, delay. But the particulars of it and the result of it with the release of the meetings, I have yet seen any of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawrence. The recording from the third task force meeting was sent out to task force members. I believe we do also have, when that recording happens, the transcripts are also recorded, and those we can also share out to task force members. One clarifying question based on your comment is whether the way that, for instance, this meeting is being conducted with recording, is there something still lacking with how the meetings are proceeding right now, or is there something further that we could do regarding recordings?
I'm sorry. The only thing that I don't know how, you guys, do you have that capacity to make sure that everything is always digitally recorded? In other words, recorded by the computer, that the translations are all in place, and these things are done at a regular interval, so no matter what we are as task force. I don't take the skills away from anybody, but the digital component now is almost near perfect and a better way for all the work to be done. So for me, that's the flag off. I'm very concerned, and I've been doing these type of sessions, and people have to be very careful and concerned about is put in minutes and what's not, because people can have said something that they didn't want to say, or it can be interpreted in that fashion. And the only way to correct it is to be able to go back and fix it. And this is just about near perfect as it can get. That's my concern. All right. So it's been a long time coming to confirm that it's being done all the time. And if it's not going to be done all the time, then task force members are the ones that should be either first informed or find out why it's not being done. So that's the clarity. Because sometimes I get the impression that it's just you and Jonathan that make this scale, and then you give the report out, and that's the end of it. And as a task force member, I feel as though that's incorrect. You guys are the host, and we really are the task force individuals.
Thank you for clarifying that. We will go back and make sure that that transcript recording can also be shared with you all. We'll make sure that you get that from the last meeting as well as this meeting. And that is a possibility going forward to share that. In terms of the interpretations that you mentioned, I'm still rather new to recordings in terms of the translations. So I'll have to look into that a bit further, but for the English version, that can certainly be shared. And we'll make sure that happens going forward. Are there any other questions about this matter or discussion points? Okay. I think we can move on to the next.
Before you move on, Monica, I'm not trying to beat this dead horse. I have a sense. Is this the first time for anybody and everyone that these are the interactions that occur? I'm only asking this because I'm very precise and I'm not new to the world, but I sound like I'm in surroundings that this is either something that you guys never had any situation of, or, you know, everyone's learning at the same time. So please, because the spontaneity of any type of conversation from other people seems to be lacking or short. And it's not an environment that I'm not used to being in. And if that's the way it is, then fine. But it just seems to be real stagnant and real stale. After this, I'm going to be silent. Bye.
Thanks for the comment, Lawrence. My institutional history with DCR is rather short, so I'm not sure in what capacity, you know, DCR has hosted these types of task force interactions in this way, you know, under the public meeting, open meeting law format. So I can't speak to that per se. So I think there is some element, at least for me, of learning all together with you all for this. Jonathan, I don't know if there's anything you'd like to add from the EEA side.
Yeah, and I would say Lawrence and everybody in the task force, like I will continue to emphasize that our office truly cares about meaningful engagement. And while we are, you know, sometimes we come through this hurdles of figuring out, you know, legal terminology and what can we do and not do, it does impact sometimes these type of engagements. but we go back to the table, particularly when you guys bring particular issues to us. We go back and we elevate it as something that we think we should pursue or reconsider or find a way to make sure that we come back to the space and meet you where you are. And that was like an example is the recording piece, right? In the beginning, we came with news that we were not, we didn't have the approval at that moment to record these meetings. And, many of you raised the opportunity to record these meetings to ensure to go back and understand what you said or what other people said and use it as a educational, tool through these discussions. And we were able to bring that right into the table and get approval in order to provide it to all of you and the public. And then Lawrence, you mentioning pieces of transcripts in order for us to be able to read it, translate it, and also change if that's not what people wanted to say during that meeting. We're here to, as much as we can, provide everybody here the tools to engage throughout this conversation. And one of the goals, or the main goal of this space, is to ensure that we support the task force and DCR, right, as the EJ office, to really develop a sense of meaningful engagement overall, not only here, but across everything that they do. And I guess to the entire task force, I would say this is a welcoming space. We want to hear from you. Don't think that you need to be careful of what you're going to say. I think we truly care about your feedback and what you're thinking. And some of your peers have mentioned it in multiple occasions that we want to hear from you. We want you to engage and to help us understand how to better serve all of you.
I'll just add in that, meaningful engagement may look very different in other contexts. And Jonathan and I are having to navigate, what does meaningful engagement look like in this context where we have these certain parameters that are set that might be feel a little bit limiting in some ways, but we are hoping that there's robust conversation and discussion about advancing these goals for the task force that have been set out for us. Shall we move on, or does anybody else have anything to add for this topic?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great. Okay, Jonathan, if you can move to the next slide. So we have here on the agenda a discussion for this upcoming site walk that's to take place this week on Thursday, set for 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. This site walk was planned both in response to having more in-person interactions with the task force, but also so that task force members, especially those that might not live, right in this community in Cambridge, can have an opportunity to walk along Memorial Drive, to see some of the sections along the drive where concerns have been raised, but also to be able to ask questions to DCR project managers who have been managing projects in the past, who have ongoing projects currently, and who might have projects upcoming in the near future, in order to inform some conversation, ideas for recommendations that can come forth from the task force. We do have to, again, stay within these legal parameters that we have for this task force. So this site walk is meant to be just for informational gathering purposes only. although this can certainly feed into later task force discussion and the recommendations that you'd all like to put forward. This area here, and Denise, I'll get to you in 1 second. This is the highlighted area is within the scope of the task force. We are most likely aiming for the area to walk between Magazine Beach and Western Avenue. This is about a 3/4 of a mile section one way. So it'll be 1.5 miles if we go both ways. So over a 2-hour period, we'd be able to stop at a few places. But this is going to be under discussion later this afternoon with the DCR team on the exact route. So this meeting is quite pertinent to inform from you all, are there areas along this site walk that you would like to focus on that we can make sure that we hit along this walk? Are there other considerations that we should think about for this site walk? And then once we finalize those, we can send out the final details for that plan, most likely tomorrow morning. So I'll stop there and open it up for discussion. Denise?
I cannot hear you, Denise.
Sorry about that. Thanks for the site walk option, because we had put it out there. Riverside residents did request the site walk. My only concern is that, again, as I stated in the email along with Sheila and Lawrence, we don't want to be the only voice that is heard as part of this task force, but we are still going to be heard. We still will speak up. Part of my concern with this is not to lose sight of a site walk, but you have, Fran is not on today, and my understanding her area of the river is further up, and we have no visibility going toward MIT Charles. So not to say, I'm glad we are doing the site walk. I'm glad the radius and by which this first site walk is being covered. You mentioned between Western Ave and Magazine Beach, but again, the task force is missing out on a site walk for the rest of the scope of the area. So again, not to be a lone voice, but just bring that up. And then are we able to provide points today that will be part of the scope or could be added to the tour? Or do we have to wait until the sidewalk to raise these questions?
Thank you, Denise. For the points that you're talking about, are those questions about specific projects or future areas that you'd like addressed?
Just areas. I'll bring them up now. With the tour, will both sides of Memorial Drive be looked at as part of the walking tour? Will the discussion include things within Magazine Beach, even though Magazine Beach is currently under a project? And are there, there's additional parts, that I wanted to ask about going toward BU MIT and back toward Harvard. So things like that.
Yes. Now is a great time to bring those up because we would like to have those in mind when we talk to our project managers later this afternoon for areas that they can be prepared to talk about and have in mind with you all. So that's great. Both sides of Memorial Drive, so the river side as well as the northern side, were in the ideas to walk. So walk along the river one way and then walk back down on the Trader Joe's side. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
We can take that into consideration. I think that's in the plan.
Okay.
So any other ideas or that you have for the site walk or projects that you would like covered or talked about, this is a great time to bring those up.
So the other one would be any discussions within Magazine Beach, or if we can hear more about what's going on with Magazine Beach, or is that out of play?
I know that project is ongoing right now, and the project manager will be on the site walk and will be able to speak about that. I think it depends on, so that person will be able to give an overview of what's ongoing currently. Depending on what the question is, I'm not sure what that person will be able to share, but if there's specific points you're interested in, I can ask about that later today.
Nothing right off the top of my head. I just want to know. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Lawrence.
Yeah, I mean, the same. I don't want to be out of step if I'm able to attend this walk. Because you do make the presentation and the material that I've seen current, moving futuristically, and with the segments of each of these plans in relationship to at least the Riverside area. I don't want these people from DCR to be caught off guard with a question that I may ask on that walk, seeing that you make perfectly clear that there is no discussion on the walk, but you can ask a question, and I suspect this is just facts and nothing else, correct?
That's correct. You're more than welcome to ask questions about what's happening with certain projects, or if there's any future plans for certain areas of Memorial Drive, and they will answer appropriately in the way that they're able to share information.
Thank you.
Sheila.
Good afternoon. I'd just like to give you some highlights of what is in my mind, which is the landscape of the bridge going over towards MIT, the Weston Ave Bridge landscape, the River Street Bridge landscape, the Jersey barriers that are at the top of Weston and Memorial, the water site that has been invisible for quite some time now across from the 808 complex, and the asphalt walk that we have heard that, you know, none of the funding will be put into any of those fixtures. Just to give you an insight of what I'm looking at as a sore eye on those properties at this time. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sheila. Denise. I think you're muted.
I had that in my notes too, and I missed those. My other thing would be asking about guardrails along that part of the river, or after going toward BU and MIT, the same way that there are guardrails in Harvard, like if there could be guardrails as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's it.
Laura.
Thanks, Monica, and thanks for arranging the site walk. I think that's a really great way of getting some good discussion on out there. And I apologize that I am not able to attend that with the very immovable meeting, but hoping that somebody else could come from our organization and can follow up with you about that. And just, it sounds like if you're having a planning meeting this afternoon, I just thought I would flag one thing that I know could be of interest. I know it's not a DCR project, but certainly a DCR property would be the work that Eversource is planning to do at Magazine Beach. And so maybe being able to have some information about that seems worthwhile for the sidewalk as well.
Great. Thank you for flagging that. Yes, we'll talk to the project managers about that.
Great.
And more than welcome to send somebody else from your organization to attend.
Okay, great. I'll figure out who that's going to be, and I'll let you know who to expect.
Okay, great. And as I think Denise noted earlier, this is just a short section of Memorial Drive. It would be very difficult to walk the whole scope of this. I believe it's about a few miles long in one site walk. So while this is just one section, and maybe we focus on this section because concerns have come up particularly for this area, but we should definitely keep in mind, as Denise noted, that there are other areas along Memorial Drive, that can be of focus for the task force as well in terms of recommendations.
Noted, thank you.
Are there any other questions or points that people would like to bring up that we should be keeping in mind as we finish planning the site walk this afternoon? Okay. Great. Thank you for all the feedback there.
I'm sorry, Monica, before you go, I know that you have the site walk arranged. Are we going to assemble before the public session and have task force input as far as what's going to be presented before the public? Or how's that mechanism to occur? Because I noticed that in your synopsis of things that the 6th is going to have a portion within the public meeting, and I didn't see us gathering again before the public meeting. How is that going to be achieved?
At this point, so the site walk is planned to be an open session for anybody. So it's really geared for task force members, but it is open to anybody who would like to attend, just like these task force meetings are. And there's no plan to meet beforehand. This will be facilitated by our MAPC colleagues in terms of question and answers with DCR project managers as we walk down this section of Memorial Drive.
So the task force walkthrough will have nothing to do with the public session, correct?
Are you speaking about the public hearings?
No, I'm talking about the walkthrough that's going to be done on the 6th, and seeing that we're not meeting again. Anything of that will not be included, mentioned, reported to the public on the 10th and the 17th?
In the overview for both of those public hearings on the 10th and the 17th, there will most likely be a mention. There will be an overview of task force activities to date. So the site walk will be mentioned, but I don't believe we haven't finished planning that part, but there probably will not be an extensive report out of that.
And the reason for, I mean, because you're losing me as a task force member. You're going to have a report or mention of the walkthrough as to what content. I'm lost. Seeing that I'm not here. I don't get it. We're going to gather up, huddle amongst each other on the 6th, and then go through a certain amount of things, and then that's what's going to be a part of the general public meeting. Or you guys just going to take whatever you feel that's significant and make mention of it to the public on the 10th and the 17th?
I think, Sasha, you want to answer that? Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I apologize. I joined a little bit late. I had a meeting conflict. Lawrence, I just want to emphasize that these first 2 public hearing sessions are really for us to hear from the public what they see as the primary challenges, concerns, needs for the area that we're talking about. So there isn't going to be much sharing out from us because the point is for us to hear from members of the public. Based on the feedback that you all gave, we took the 3rd public hearing and moved it to the late winter, early spring, which is when we would, provide the draft recommendations to the public for their feedback. And we will have had a task force meeting and you all will have reviewed and provided input on those recommendations. So there will be some agreement from this group on what we're presenting to the public at that time. The reason there's not much that we have to give you right now is because these public hearings are really to gain input. They're not for us to be sharing out. It's for us to hear back. The extent of what will be shared, I think, will be primarily focused on just what this task force is and what has been done thus far. All of that information, how many meetings we've had, what engagement has happened, things like that. So this is really for us to hear from the public, not so much for us to be sharing out draft recommendations yet.
Oh, Sasha, I hear that, and I think we're kind of strayed away from, or maybe I am expressing it in not correctly. All I asked, and this is just it, that the walkthrough of the 6th, we do not have a date to gather and understand or hear as task force members what's going to be communicated to the general public meetings on the 10th and the 17th. And that's why I asked, that's all I asked, is how is that going to be added into the general public meeting? Because it won't be an expression from the task force members. It will be of you guys who, because you're not meeting with us. Whatever happens and the 10th comes, you're going to have your script ready to go. And that's going to be the end of it. So again, for me, it's not from the task force members, it's from you guys. Or, as you said, seeing that this is going to be a quick snapshot, the walkthrough will be held off until the task force members, us, can sit down here and debate or whatever, and then you guys are going to supply it to them. All right? It's two different lanes. Either we are, as a task force, have discussions, and what you provide to the general public is from the task force, or it is primarily simply by you guys. Two different things. They're not one and the same.
Right. So the material that will be provided from the task force, that the task force will meet and discuss, that material is going to be provided in the winter/spring, whenever that gets scheduled, public hearing. The public hearings on the 10th and the 17th will not have any draft recommendations or materials from this task force because we don't have those yet. We have notes from input that you all have provided. We'll have notes from the site walk, but that is not the time that we will be sharing out that content. That is the time for us to hear from members of the public. And what we hear from members of the public will then inform the draft recommendations that you all will discuss and come to agreement on. So there will be discussion about what comes up at the site walk, but it will be for the public hearing that comes later.
Not
Monica or Jonathan, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Not of the 10th and the 17th. That's it, Sasha. You hit on a nail on it. Not of the 10th and the 17th, the site walk information will not be provided to the public. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead, Sheila.
Sasha, I want to thank you for that clarification because personally, I was having some feelings about not being included in the conversation for the presentation of the public hearings. And I thought as Denise wanted to change the comments in the minutes that were not reflecting to what we thought we were here for, you know, to have that full discussion. And then questioning, and thank you for the openness, Monica and Jonathan, for receiving emails, but that's why the emails are kind of maybe crazy, because the thought process is maybe first of all, everyone's not used to this type of walkthrough on meetings. We go into a room, we have meetings, we have the meeting of the minds, but it just seemed like a lot of the information was coming back on email to what was going to happen. And we felt like we were not participating in what the conversation or what part of the conversation should be had. So the rush on the meetings would not concern me if those are your meetings for your reasons. But if they were including how I felt or my contributing to the conversation, I felt that my conversation was not heard. So I thank you, Sasha, for explaining that's your meeting. So if that's your meeting, then that's what it is. And there's no need for me to be concerned. We'll have ours for our comments because we felt we had no control of the timeline or anything of that nature. We felt that we were being placed back into a rush of things. And 3 meetings in November was a little overwhelming for me. So I know that it had to be overwhelming for a community, because the work that you do is the work you do, but they're doing other work. They're doing homework and housework and, you know, a holiday work. And we thought that all of this was just compiled, just one right after another. And the availability from the community may have been a little overwhelming in thinking that we should have pushed it and given them time to put it on their calendar that wasn't already so full. You know, I hope you understand what I'm saying. It was a little, there was a lot of conversation in an email that I wasn't sure personally that was going out to the rest of the task force. So I really wasn't feeling on the same page with everyone. I was feeling like I was being answered individually, but I'm asking a question that maybe other members in the task force might have wanted to understand as well. So, you know, a lot of the email, I'd rather voices be heard. I know this is, you know, a different century, but I just rather we do this with all voices and ears in the room.
No worries, I was just like.
Monica, I saw you. Do you want to? I just want to mention something quickly, if that's okay. Thank you, everybody, Lawrence, Sheila, for always sharing your feedback, because I just want to make sure that everybody understands, like, when we go to these public hearings to hear from general public and residents from Memorial Drive, right? We are structuring them. One, we want to make sure that they understand what is this, right? Like, what is happening and how we got here. And Monica mentioned something about, like, potentially there could be opportunity just to mention them, that there was a small convening just to walk through Memorial Drive, and just say that, right? Like, there was an event, we came together, we walked, we heard some challenges that from neighbors or the public that were in the space. But the bulk of it is to just hear, right? People that are not in this space, they're not part of the Charles River Task Force, to hear from them, right? For you all to consider as you are drafting recommendations and thinking through of what should be on the last final report. And then after you, as a task force, come to consensus on what that should be, that also going back out to the public to ensure that we, all of us were able to capture concerns, challenges, opportunities through a public comment period, but also an in-person activity in case people just prefer that. And thank you for recommending that and giving us the push to push it, right? At the end of the day, we want to make sure that your feedback is captured, and whoever you as an individual person and as a task force member represent, you're able to bring those concerns and opportunities into this final report. I see Lawrence, but Monica, I don't know if you also want to add some on that before we go to Lawrence.
Yeah, I'll just hopefully add some further clarification here, and thanks, Sasha, for the overview, and also Jonathan. But this task force is really in the beginning information gathering stages right now, right? We've only had a few meetings. We're just getting to know and get a little bit more solidified about what this task force is and what we're setting out to do. The public hearings are supposed to be convened by the task force. It's the task force that is the receiving end of information from the public. And so this is supposed to augment the ideas that are already floating around in everybody's heads here about recommendations. But, you know, you are being a filter for what you hear at these hearings coming up in the next 2 weeks. I'm hearing both from the last week or so about the need for more discussion space, and also here in this meeting from you, Sheila, about the need to have more FaceTime together to discuss, you know, what are we thinking in our heads, and what are we hearing from the public that comes out from these public hearings going forward. And that is really necessary, and the time for that will be after these 2 public hearings happen. We did hear from you all about needing to take a pause for the holidays. There's a lot going on, but that January meeting that we all reconvene will be a key meeting to talk about, you know, what you saw on the site walk, what you heard from the 2 public hearings from the public, what you're all thinking, like how are these recommendations shaping up in your heads to put forward. That'll be a key meeting to really start solidifying what these recommendations look like based on all the feedback collected during this fall period. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to lose power. I just want to state that as we all moving forward, we really are subject matter experts. We've been doing this for a long time. We have a wealth of information to share with everyone. And I'm hoping, and I believe everybody else got the same amount to share. It's just that the voices seem to be so limited. So we are definitely pushing for more conversation, more meetings where we can all exchange, and not to be on this speed track of other things being set up, and we're looking at each other like, you know, did you hear this? And it's not. So I'm hoping that as we move forward, we could become more concrete, and that the conversations become much more spontaneous amongst all 17 members. All right. So respectfully, Lawrence is out of power, and I will be dropping from the meeting. So somebody else will have to bring me up to speed later. Goodbye.
Thank you, Lawrence, for your contributions here. Appreciate it.
And the recording will be available, Lawrence, for you to review them. Make sure that you know what's going on in the next few minutes.
If there's nothing more anybody would like to add related to this site walk, I mean, I think the discussion also relates to the next discussion topic, which is about the public hearings coming up. Great, thanks, Jonathan. So, as mentioned, we do have 2 public hearings that are scheduled now. One is for November 10th, Monday, from 6 to 8 p.m. This will be a completely virtual session, so there will be no in-person component for this. For that beginning overview part, and we'll go over the structure in a minute, but we are intending to record it so that those who aren't able to make this hearing, but also potentially the next hearing, have an opportunity to review this recording, hear what the overview is of the task force, what the goals are, and then be directed to the virtual survey so that they can still input their comments, and those will be taken into consideration for the report. The next meeting will be Monday, November 17th from 6 to 8 p.m. This is currently scheduled for the Cambridge Community Center. And this will be a completely in-person meeting as well. This will be completely in person. For both meetings, we are planning to have both ASL and interpreters for 7 languages there. And I will pass it over to Sasha, who will be able to speak about some of the outreach activities to date in preparation for these hearings.
Monica, so we just wanted to share a little bit about some of the engagement that's happened in preparation for these public hearings. We have started to do one-on-one conversations with key community members in mostly in the Cambridgeport Riverside area. So we've had several conversations so far and have just heard a little bit more about what the priorities are of the communities that those folks convene or engage with regularly. And also what the best way to reach people is so that we're effective with sharing information about the public hearings. Some things that we learned is from the city is that residents have provided input that kind of outreach about a week ahead of an event is the ideal time. And so we are going to be door knocking this week on Wednesday and on Saturday in advance of that kind of 10th and then the 17th dates. So all of the door knocking will happen this week. We'll also be flyering along the closure of Memorial Drive on Sunday to folks who are kind of from the neighborhood. We have reached out to the Allston Civic Association and Allston Brighton Neighborhood Association as well, based on recommendations from this task force. So we are waiting to hear back from that. And then something that has emerged from one of our one-on-one conversations, I know it was mentioned here that there's a big Amharic and Arabic speaking community who live near this area that we're talking about. And we have connected with folks at the Rivermark housing development that holds a lot of folks who speak Amharic and Arabic. About 1/3 of the residents there do. And we're hoping to actually have a focus group in Amharic and Arabic to gain input from those residents directly, especially recognizing that while we have language access available at these public hearings, we know, especially in this current moment, that folks aren't always feeling safe to go to public events. And so we want to make sure that we're also meeting people where they are and where they feel comfortable. So we're hoping to have a couple more of those if we can partner with community-based groups. So we'll continue those one-on-one conversations moving forward in the next couple of weeks. And we're taking notes from all of those conversations. We'll take notes during the door knocking, and all of that will bring to the draft recommendations to help inform not only what, in addition to what we hear from the public hearings, making sure that anything that people share with us, we're documenting. So you all can have that information as well as you think about recommendations. Denise. We can't hear you.
Sorry, because I get extra noise. Are you on the second bullet already?
I kind of went through all three because they're interconnected. But I can share more about any bullet that you have questions on.
It was the one-on-one conversations.
Yeah.
And the other outreach. When you say one-on-one, and I apologize, I got a call, wasn't sure, what did that mean?
Yeah, so I think we mentioned this in the first session and maybe the second one when we dived a little bit deeper into conversation. But we want to make sure that we're hearing from as representative of the, getting good representation from the impacted stakeholders as this task force defined them. And so to do that, we have tried to reach out to key community leaders in mostly in the Cambridge, Port Riverside area to chat with them, recognizing we won't be able to, talk to every person individually, but by building those connections, making sure that we can share the flyers with them so that they can make sure that their community joins, making sure that they're aware of the public hearings, and seeing if there are other opportunities that we can connect with them. So the conversations we've had so far, we did chat with the engagement team at the city just to get a better understanding of how they do on the ground engagement.
Who's the engagement team at the city?
So we chatted with Jackson Price, who's the director of community engagement at the city.
So
of Cambridge.
Okay, so I just want to make it known that Jackson, we've communicated with Jackson, and unless something's changed, his community engagement was not boots on the ground as what you guys are talking about. So has there been a change?
Yeah, so he has a recently piloted community engagement. They have community engagement liaisons who have been in the roles for a few years now, but they also now have a part-time essentially door knocking team.
So this is that pilot team that they've put together. This is within the last 30 days, 40 days.
Yeah.
Okay,
just-
what other community engagement folks or city folks have you talked to? Or
Yeah, so we
leaders?
just talked to the city just to get a better understanding of how they do engagement and make sure we're not overlapping with anything that they're doing, because we've heard that folks have been a little bit like over engaged. So we wanted to make sure that we're reaching folks at the right place at the right time, especially with elections coming up. We also met with staff at the Cambridge Community Center to hear about what they are hearing from their community, and also to coordinate a little bit more on how we promote the public hearings. They're actually having a turkey giveaway on the 17th. And so we're going to set up a station at the turkey giveaway where folks can provide feedback via the survey or the public flyer, or the digital flyer, I'm sorry.
Hearing good.
Perfect.
So those are kind of a couple of folks that we've connected with. We also chatted with the staff at the Rivermark Housing Development, which is managed by, I think they're called Housing Resources Incorporated, which is an affordable housing organization that I think primarily works in Cambridge. And so they are the folks who are connecting us to host this Amharic Arabic focus group. Coming up, we're talking with a representative from the Cambridgeport Neighborhood Association. And then we are also planning to connect with Jeremy Battle and his church. So we're hoping to have a conversation soon with him. And I think that those are all the things that we have on the docket. But as we've been having these conversations, people have suggested other folks to connect with. And so more have emerged from that. So that's kind of where we've been having the one-on-ones. We did talk to the city, but that was not our primary focus. It's more really community-based folks that we're trying to reach.
Okay, thank you.
I see Derek and then Lawrence. Monica, do we have time for questions?
Sure. We have up next just running through the structure for the public hearings, and then going back to the beginning of the conversation around recommendations. So I think this is pertinent for all the engagement that's happening now. So go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I can't help myself. These meetings are coming fast and furious, but I'm learning a lot, getting up to speed. When we talk about community health needs assessments, community health improvement plans, the CHIP, that's a lot of that data we can provide you within the health department. We conduct needs assessments. We're located at 119 Windsor Street, the Port area. So we have epidemiologists, data specialists, and what we do as a health department is that we have a report card on Cambridge neighborhoods, but we've been conducting intense community outreach through our community core teams. We call them our C3 teams prior to COVID. So we actually know where our most marginalized citizens are in Cambridge down to the address. So
that's great to hear, Derek. We'd love to connect with you to talk more about that and see how we can incorporate that information. Thank you so much. I'll plan to follow up with you over email if that sounds good to you.
Are you a righty or a lefty?
Right hand.
Lawrence?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that you understand that for the time that we spent, even with the city and its engagement, right on to the desk of the city manager, Mr. Price, sole and singular operation is with city employees. He has nothing, that department of his has zero to do with residents in Cambridge. He is only right now structuring with employees. That is it. So I am alerted when I heard this because the city actually does not. And as Denise has just revealed, of 30 days, and I'm glad to hear that Derek has stepped up. So again, I mean, these are the flaws that throw signals to all of us who have been deeply engaged in this and trying to have engagement and communication holistically, not individually at each other's door to have comments made that can't be supported. Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence. Yeah, again, just to clarify, we just needed to make sure we weren't conflicting with anything that the city had already planned. That was not the main purpose of the one-on-one conversations. I'm just trying to be transparent with you all about what conversations we had. So far, we've had 3, one with folks at Rivermark, one with folks at the Cambridge Community Center, and one with Mr. Price. So we have the next 2 conversations lined up. This is not to say that we took what the city said as the be all end all or as the only input. We just wanted to make sure that as we're planning the door knocking and other engagement, that we are not conflicting with or frustrating residents further if the city was already doing things. I understand that Jackson has a different way that he does things, and we were just trying to understand what that was so that as we plan our engagement, we're as effective as possible. So that's the reason that we met with them. They really weren't providing community input to us. It was more understanding, especially with the election season, kind of what's happening at the city level so that we're doing door knocking effectively. For example, they made it very clear we should not door knock on election day, right? We're not doing that. So we probably could have also planned for that, but we wanted to make sure that we were double checking. So that's why that conversation happened. I just want to be very clear. The focus of these one-on-ones is primarily with community-based folks, not the city.
And I would say, just reminding the members that any information or recommendation comes in is gonna be placed before you, right? For you to scrutinize it, for you to decide, and amongst yourself, right? And if you do have maybe somebody that would like to be part of this discussion again, and they just do not want to be in person or on a public setting, and you would like us to just give them a call, like let us know, please. I think we have in many occasions just brought that up. Like if you have an idea, a place that we should visit, like please communicate it to us like that. We can figure out amongst us like who should be the one calling, who should have the discussion, and what resources do we have available in order to support that member of the public. Derek, is that a legacy hand? Just want to make sure. And then I see Sheila also on. I think that's a legacy. So let's go to Sheila.
Sasha, I just want to say we appreciate your outreach and who you're outreaching to. I just think that the honesty of the conversation that we've had previously with Mr. Price was that he had no boots on the ground and that he is only one person placed in the outreach position. So if that has changed, then we're happy to hear it because we've already went that route, not 1 meeting, not 2 meetings, but 3 meetings with Mr. Price on several different occasions and concerns in Cambridge. And we have never gotten any, assistance with outreach. Nothing, directed to him, but he said he doesn't have the people, and the people that he speaks to in his meetings, my understanding, as is Lawrence's, is all community people that don't even live in the community. So I'm sorry, all employees of the city, people that don't even live in the community. So they're sitting there making decisions that don't affect them. So just to share where that conversation is coming from. Thank you.
Thanks, Sheila. And again, just to reiterate, the Cambridge outreach team is not supporting us with any of the outreach we are doing for this project. We were just learning more about the work that they do. The knowledge that I have is the same as what Denise shared, which is that this pilot team that they have of part-time door knockers, who I believe are Cambridge residents, but they are not going to be doing the door knocking for these public hearings. It'll be me and 2 of my colleagues door knocking this upcoming. Just to be very clear about who's going.
I just don't want anything not falsified, but expectations of things that are not going to happen It didn't happen for us. I'm not sure. Maybe DCR can get them to do differently, or Mr. Price to do differently. But that was not the conversation we had with him in 3 separate one-on-one meetings. So we just moved on from him and knocked on DCR's door ourselves, because he said that he wasn't in the position or didn't have the authority to come and do it.
Yeah, and I think I just want to be clear. We're talking about 2 separate processes here. Mr.
Absolutely.
Price is not here to speak to this, so I don't want to
Absolutely.
dive too far into that.
I respect that.
But I just, I want to be respectful of everybody in this process. I just want to be very clear. We did not talk to the city about any outreach they had done regarding Memorial Drive or any feedback they've heard. We were only talking to them about making sure we're not conflicting with any outreach that they are already doing in general.
I
Just to make
understand.
sure that we're not overburdening people. We don't want to be knocking on doors if somebody's already gotten a door knocked
Absolutely.
back earlier that week. I think
Absolutely.
folks here mentioned that can be troublesome. And so that was the reason we spoke with the city. The other one-on-one conversations that we had, we did ask them about the feedback they've been hearing. For example, the Rivermark folks shared that a lot of their residents are really concerned about River Street. That's been a concern that's come up again and again. And so we've written that down. And again, you'll have all of those notes for you
Right.
all to review. So in
Okay.
those community-based conversations, we did talk about challenges and concerns. But again, for the city, it was just making sure
I
we're
see.
aligned on
Thank you.
outreach.
It's just the conversation. Like I said, we're not trying to disrespect anybody's position. We're just sharing with you that we've been there and we were told differently. So,
Thanks,
and
Sheila.
okay, thank you.
Sasha, and thank you. And thanks, Sheila, for clarifying too. It would be great Sasha, if to help MAPC's effort, DCR's effort, as well as EEA's effort to get to have this publicized through the city, because it is something that does affect. So if anything, it would be great to have the community engagement team help with publicizing, maybe not your door knocking or anything, to help get this out prior to the hearings. That's one thing. Two, shoot, what was it? Two is, I know, again, Sheila Lawrence and I are the loudmouths on here. And I feel that there's no other engagement. I look at Kyle, I look at Steven when the camera's on, Logan. You guys are not hearing from anyone else. And the reason why we put forth the email that we did is that we're on these calls. You can hear the passion from Sheila Lawrence and I. But again, we're not hearing from anyone. Derek, it was great to hear from him. We don't want to be the lone voice. We heard from Laura and Fran, but what about anybody else?
Thanks, Denise. And just on the topic of the city, they have agreed to share the flyers. So we are sharing the flyers in all of the languages that we have them in now. And Denise, I want to thank you again for providing us with some of the design that ended up in the final flyer. I know that was time that you took on your part. So really appreciate that and the feedback that everyone provided. So we will be sharing that flyer with the city. And as always, we welcome feedback from everybody on the task force. To Denise's point, if you want to speak with us outside of this meeting and email us directly, you're always welcome to do that. I'm also happy to chat with folks.
Thanks, Sasha, and thanks Denise, Lawrence, and Sheila for that. We are heading towards the end of the meeting. I don't think we'll be able to have a chance to get to the last parts of the agenda. But just know that they have been shared with you via email and that we are open to receive feedback on those. Angela and Laura, let's take your comments or questions real quick, and then I think we'll aim to wrap up the meeting.
Yeah, to Denise's really good point, I definitely feel like I have been less incentivized to participate because I do feel that this meeting is more bureaucratic and lengthened rather than talking about the problems that we face and really being proactive and finding solutions. And it feels like we can go an hour and a half without even discussing possible scenarios, possible solutions with the community. And so it feels like discussion is almost disincentivized in this order, at least for me.
Thanks, Angela, for sharing that. Laura?
Yeah, I'll also be brief, and I was going to say something similar where I think, almost ending the meeting where we started with talking about, I think, invitation to say, like, what are some of the challenges and issues? I wonder if there is a way to have one of the upcoming task force meetings have some sort of structure that, asks each task force member to provide, like a prompt, like, talk a little bit more about one of the issues or dig into more of one of the challenges that you see. As a way of providing some structure around having that discussion. But I think part of it, certainly from my end, is trying to figure out what's most helpful and when to dig into like the meat of some of this. So I think that was prompted by a task force member last meeting. And so maybe if there's a way of building on that would be helpful.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. That's great feedback for us to take back and think about the future meetings coming up. We would like to dig into the meat, like that is the point of this task force, is to really look into what are the challenges and how can they be addressed. And agree that, we do have to deal with a lot of the bureaucracy that is inherent with this process, but we hope to find some ways amidst that to be able to still dig into that meat. Jonathan, are you able to go to the next slide? We'll just go through these real fast. Again, you all were sent about a 2-page overview of a draft for what these public hearings might look like. The beginning is arrival. There will be some refreshments. There will be a presentation about the overview of what the task force is. The bulk of the hearings are really to hear from task force or to hear from the public about what their concerns and challenges are and recommendations are. And then there will be a share out and close at the end. There's further details in that handout. And so please feel free to send us via email any of your thoughts about whether this makes sense or whether you have suggestions for any part of it to be changed or for us to be mindful of that. Next slide. We won't have time to get to this today, but I think this will be the bulk of the next task force meeting after the public hearings. Let's go to the next slide. We talked about a lot of this during this hearing today, but we have this upcoming site walk on Thursday, the outreach activities that Sasha talked about, the public hearings coming up in the next 2 weeks. And then we have activities after the new year for really thinking through some of those recommendations, holding a public hearing in the early spring or late winter. We'll have a public comment period that's part of this task force process for the public to comment again once they have a set of recommendations to look at. And then we can reconvene to discuss what some of those changes should be later on. That's just the overarching timeline as it stands right now. And again, we're open to feedback on this as well. Denise.
So when do we get to the meat and potatoes? But after the 17th, between the 17th, and then we're to meet in January sometime? Is that the meat and potatoes meeting, or? Because everything on the agenda is so tight that I don't know how can this task force hear from Fran and the issues for phase 3? How can the task force hear from Laura and the Charles River Conservancy? How can the task force hear from Cambridgeport neighborhood? We're hearing from Riverside, but how do you have that as well in between January and then a February public comment period? That's where we said with the agenda from the jump, we said it was too aggressive. And in the email, we stated, if this is going to be an academic exercise, then you don't need us. because we're not talking amongst ourselves. As you stated, Monica, there was deliberation. We haven't said anything to even deliberate on. So how do we get there?
Thanks, Denise, for that. It is tight. I'm acknowledging that it is all very, very tight. And if
But
we
can it be
do,
paused? Because
Oh.
initially this report was to have been done in this year, June. And then we are now forcing this to do for March. Can it be paused or pushed through until where the final report can be due in June?
that may be a possibility. There is an extension in the works right now. So we may have a few extra months. I'm not sure if that extension is fully set through the legislature. One of our limitations is having MAPC support through March. So that will be something that we need to think about. But some of this timeline can be perhaps extended. And so if there are suggestions to hold further task force meetings or figure out ways where we can get that input from all of the individuals that you said, some of those may be on the docket, maybe that MAPC has to have one-on-one conversations with. But yeah, we're open to that. Right now, we just have that January meeting is really the meat and potatoes part of it, which is tight, I acknowledge.
And Denise, one, I just want to make sure to take a time in case members are hopping off. Please don't. Just make sure that we still have quorum to deliberate on closing this. And I do would like a motion to table one of the items because it's the preliminary conversation to discuss preliminary recommendations. I'm hoping that we can get a motion to table just because, and I appreciate all of you for your patience on this whole bureaucracy government process of open meeting law. I just want to make sure that, I check the box in case in any way or form somebody decides to challenge this space against the open meeting law. So with that, we did recommend to file an extension, Denise. It is going through its legislative process right now up to June 2026. And it was filed by Rep. Decker. So we hope that goes through its process as quick as I think she did it through the supplemental budget, which I think is still in conversations through the Senate and probably is going to go to a conference committee late before the governor. So our hope is that we can do that. But then Monica mentioned another issue that we have, right? That we're also looking into and working and figuring that out, which is the capacity that has been brought to support this task force. So we're also taking that into consideration. But overall, our main focus is bringing forward something to all of you, and where you're able to take it, put it together, take it apart, and vote on and have consensus on a product that our agencies, by statute, we have to report. We have a deadline to report something out, and we're trying to figure out everything at the same time.
Again,
listening.
I hear what you're saying, Jonathan. I hear what you're saying, Monica, and I see Kendra's joined us, and we understand that we're held to a timeline within the legislature. But unfortunately, the kickoff was not a kickoff the way that we had the background information and to be able to gather stuff. And I mean, it is what it is. And it's a little disappointing, a lot disappointing. I'm going to say a lot disappointing to have full transparency and that, it's a tight timeline. And I guess there's nothing more we can do but just try and forge. But I would strongly suggest that whatever report or whatever happens in January, because January and February are so short, that it is something that if we have to have additional meetings, we do, where voices can be heard. And we're not talking via email or anything like that, because then at least there's transparency within the group. And I'll be quiet.
Yeah, and I've been hearing that a lot, the quiet piece. Please know that we want everybody to speak and voice anything. Like we care about your voice, we care about your feedback, we care about what you have to bring to the table. And we want you to always just remember that. I do want to ask for the agenda item, a motion to table item discussion preliminary recommendations for the report. And then a second, and like that, we can just do a vote and ensure that we can just push it to the next agenda because it's a topic that is part of this discussion. So I'm asking for a motion to table.
Jonathan,
Go ahead, Lawrence.
I motion that the remaining items on this agenda due to time that can't be presented be moved to the next meeting. How's
Thank
that?
you.
Very
Thank
simple.
you, Lawrence. Appreciate it. Is there a second?
I second.
Steve, I believe I saw second.
Whatever.
I'm gonna go ahead. We're starting with Monica. Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Logan.
Yes.
Thank you, Derek. I'm gonna go through it in case.
Yes.
Okay. Kyle.
Yes.
Ken. Thank you, Kyle. Yes. Ken is absent, I believe. Jeremy. Absent. Galen. Absent. Laura.
Yes.
Thank you. Laura say yes. Angela.
Yes.
Angela say yes. Fran is absent. Lawrence.
Yes.
Lawrence say yes. Sheila.
Yes.
Sheila say yes. Steve.
Yes.
Steve say yes. Denise.
Yes.
Denise say yes. Thomas.
Yes.
Thomas say yes. David.
Yes.
David say yes, and I say yes. Those items are tabled. We are going to now entertain a motion to adjourn. For if there's anybody from the public, unfortunately, we do not have time today to take public comments. We hope that one day we will be able, but again, there is the public hearing opportunities and also the public comments as we continue to engage in this work. So with that said, I just need a motion to adjourn.
Then make a motion that we proceed to close.
Lawrence, I made the motion. Is there a second?
I second.
It's been second by Derek. Starting roll call again with Monica.
Yes.
Thank you, Logan.
Yes.
Thank you, Derek. Derek, if you try to unmute yourself. Derek?
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. Derek say yes. Kyle?
Yes.
Kyle say yes. Ken is absent. Jeremy is absent. Galen is absent. Laura?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Angela?
Yes.
Yes. Fran is absent. Lawrence?
Yes.
Lawrence say yes. Sheila?
Yes.
Sheila say yes. Steve?
Yes.
You say yes. Denise?
Yes.
Denise say yes. Thomas?
Yes.
Thomas say yes. David?
Yes.
David say yes, and I say yes. The meeting is adjourned. Have a great day, everyone. Please reach out to Monica and I. Any further questions or concerns or feedback, our lines are open and we want to hear from you.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye-bye.